Hey guys, Noogie here, and today we're gonna talk about my Demon Hunter on hardcore in Reaper of Souls. So I've gotten a lot of requests, one of them being, hey Noogie, could you make a video of what you would have liked to know when you started for any of the new players out there? So I'm gonna talk a bit about that, something about scaling and just the Demon Hunter in general, what I think about it. So first off, what are some of the things I would have liked to have known? Well, there is the whole difficulty system, and let me just get in game and show you how it works. So first off, when you start a new character, you will have the campaign mode only. Adventure mode is gonna get unlocked as soon as you complete Act 5. But so you start into the campaign mode, right? Boom, 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 easy peasy. Then you might think to yourself, what kind of difficulty would I choose? As a Demon Hunter, I would never go above hard, especially not in the beginning. In general, the amount of difficulty increase on Expert and Master is not worth your time. You're much better off farming either normal or hard. Hard, if you have pretty good gear, the 75% extra XP bonus is nice if you're rushing for that 70. Other than that, if you're not looking for the gold, if you're just looking for items, normal is actually a very good option to farm in, because as you can see, there's no added magic bonus. On Master, however, at 61 you can get the Imperial gems, but again, it's not really worth the trouble, because in the end you're gonna be swimming in Imperial gems. As you get to like 70, you start getting that Torment 1 rolling in the end, and when you have good gear. So I would suggest that you just you don't have to like feel obliged or feel obligated to having to roll harder than normal and hard, because there's rarely any real benefit to it. If you like the challenge, well, by all means, go ahead. Secondly, I want to talk about crafting. So in Diablo 3 there is now crafting, and I would suggest that you make good use of this. When you level up, you can start leveling your blacksmith. You need it level 12 anyways, so just start leveling it up. And just make sure to look all the time for upgrades that you might be able to make. You can do the highest usable, or you can have all if you want to see all of them and when you are going to get some of these. But yeah, make sure to make good use of them. Don't be afraid to use currency below 60. Below 60, like, you can spend all of it. It doesn't really matter. Like, you get so much of it, and you should just be spending and upgrading your gear all the time. So when you start getting the newer crafting materials, Death's Breath is something you might want to hold on to a little bit. It's used to upgrade. I would probably use it upgrading my blacksmith and stuff first, and then you can start using it for crafting and re-rolling. In general, when you roll an item, you want to have at least 3 or 4 good stats. Since you get so many rares, it is pretty easy. Like you can see right here, this one had a dex, vit, and crit damage, and then it had a Saki 4th primary mod. I kept re-rolling the primary mod until I hit the crit chance. So you want three of the very good primaries, and then you re-roll the 4th. In general, it's pretty easy getting a 6 stat item as well, so you should try and aim for those. The uniques are pretty crazy as well. I'll talk a little bit about that later. So again, before Loot 2.0 and all the changes, there is something called trifecta. Now you can still roll trifecta, but it's not always that useful, because it can take away from your defensive stats as well. So as you can see here, dex, vit, crit damage, crit chance, these all roll on primaries. All resistance is a primary as well, attack speed is a primary as well, so you can't roll these 6 stat items that are all perfect. So you go for 4 and you have to mix and match. In general, attack speed is the one you let go of. So you go dex, crit, and crit damage. That is usually what's going to yield you the most damage here. Attack speed on some items is not bad. It's good for resource generation here, but it also depletes your resources quite fast. And if you have some hatred regeneration elsewhere, and a slow weapon. Attack speed doesn't really benefit you that much. You would much rather just keep buffing that crit damage and then maybe using some cooldown abilities instead. So let me go over my character, a few tips and tricks. So Demon Hunter starts out really weak. It takes until you get level... I don't even remember this level anymore, but I think it's 18, 20-ish before you get that AoE. So the Demon Hunter starts out really slow. This means that put a lot of emphasis on rolling your gear to begin with. Then as you go along, it's quickly gonna get better and better, don't worry. I usually go with a ball lightning early on. I think that's a really good skill. There are several other skills you can use, but they can come quite situational. Some twin chakrams a lot of people like. I think that's a great skill as well. But if you're in tight areas with a lot of walls around you, or places where they can't traverse, your chakrams could start hitting them and just disappearing. Ball lightning is way easier, just like choosing one direction and making like follow that, and they can like chain out. Right now though, as you can see here, I'm going Frost Arrow. The reason I'm going Frost Arrow is as I unlock the 4th passive skill, I can now fit in Call the Weak. I have all this resource management and movement, and with only 3 passive points, Frost Arrow I don't think is very good, but with 4 you unlock Call the Weak. And that makes it so that now you can actually buff your elemental area without sacrificing movement, resource generation, or like discipline and all that, like defenses. So you're just adding on top of an already good build, and then all of a sudden Frost Arrow becomes really good. It works great with Entangling Shot that's been buffed as well. And then I have the Rain of Arrows. Like you spread that cold to everything, and then you buff the Rain of Arrows as well. Doing that, it's pretty nice. Vengeance is a great on-demand. I use it as a hatred generator plus a great burst, especially for single target. I use the Boar Companion. Here you could be using the Wolf Companion with that cool quiver that gives you 3, or chest I think that gives you another 2 wolves. You can use the Bat Companion if you're lacking resources. But the Boar Companion gives you regen plus resist. The reason why this works out great is because if you have very high mitigation, resist and armor, then regen actually becomes very good. The same goes for life on hit. You could also be using stuff like brooding, and with a skill like that, getting some pure vitality also becomes really good. But if you're just staying life regen and life on hit, then you don't need that much vitality. Vitality is good for taking that big hit, but for overall sustained survivability, you want to have armor and all resist as your main sources of mitigation. As you can see here, I have 12 million toughness, pretty good. And this comes because I have Perfectionist and the Boar. It really scales it up a lot, especially having all that resist. Early on, if you have some Paragon, if you spec into resist all, this is completely crazy. You literally take no damage in the beginning. So this makes you a powerhouse of unknown proportions. So for other builds that you could be doing, this is not the end all spec, this is a spec I'm using right now. You could also be using stuff like a Cluster Arrow with both Cluster Bombs, or the good old Loaded for Bear, which I see a lot of people using. I see a lot of people using that plus Call the Weak, so they use some kind of slow with Entangling Shot, for instance, and Call the Weak. Like where they amp that damage. You can even use stuff like ambush, and you can probably, if you're playing softcore, you could probably run around one-shotting yellows with a high crit damage build, Call the Weak and all that, and you scale it all up and you debuff and boom, they die. That's another good option. So Chakrams, Elemental Arrow, all good. Vengeance is a very good skill. Spike Trap seems a little bit lackluster these days. The reason why I think that is because all the other things were buffed. Before you got, the reason why Spike Trap was so good before is because you got so much value for your money. For the hatred spent, the damage was insane. Not so much anymore. It's not even more than Loaded for Bear. And Loaded for Bear is, and you can shoot it anywhere on the map. You don't have to wait for them to walk there and explode. So I think this is just a much better skill. And then there's all the generators. You can experiment what you like the best. In this game, there isn't a right or a wrong thing. Well, there are things that are not as good as others, but just know that there are so many viable specs, which is also something I really like, that they have made the skills better. They have buffed a lot of skills. Like, there are so many combinations you could do. You can also have the fast attacking hatred generator with the mark. Let's find it here, mark for death, with mortal enemy. And what you do, whenever you pop vengeance plus mortal enemy, you pretty much have unlimited hatred, and then you just have a very high cost, for instance Loaded for Bear, hatred spender, and you spend it all and you regen it instantly, and you spend it all and you regen it instantly. It's pretty crazy. Then there's all the items. There are so many different item builds you can be doing. I'm looking forward to making a Natalie's set. This has grade 2 and 3 set bonuses, but the 4th one is crazy. Every time I kill an enemy, I reduce the cooldown of the Rain of Vengeance by 1. So you pop this, and then if you kill over those 5 seconds, so we had a little lag spike right there, but we're gonna get straight into it. So as you can see here, every time you kill an enemy, the cooldown goes down by 1, meaning that boom, 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 kill 20 enemies, and you pretty much have it up straight away again. It's pretty damn crazy. And as you can see here, Rain of Vengeance, if the cooldown is very low, is an insane amount of damage per cast. 2400 weapon damage. So that is really great. Then we also have items like this with the 4 bonus here, immune to Desecrated, Molten and Plagued. Then you could get an amulet as well if you want to gain immunities. There's plenty of immunities. Prevents all lightning damage. This could be prevents all arcane damage as well. And all of a sudden you're immune to Desecrator, Plagued, what was it? Molten and Arcane. I have these boots right now. I can go unhindered through enemies. There is a potion as well that makes you go unhindered through walls, and all of a sudden all this area damage and the walls and everything will not hurt you anymore. I also have String of Ears with the 30% damage from melee. Like, you can add all these things on top of each other, and this will make you to a completely unkillable killing machine. On that, there are several ways, and I will explain these in later videos, to get crafting materials. I can quickly comment on bounties. Bounties are really good to do. Do them in parties, do them whatever. Also, there are rifts. If you don't know, by doing bounties you get rift keys, and by getting rift keys you unlock the rifts. The rifts I would probably wait doing until I could do them on Torment 1, and I would just save up a lot of them and then just start crushing as a group. You can also do them a little bit earlier, but I think I like doing them on Torment with the group. So that's it for today. My Demon Hunter is going strong, defensive, offensively, and the build is looking good. So try out the different combinations yourself, and if you have any questions or requests for new videos, let me know in the comments below. So until next time guys, have a good one.